Join me, I am your host Dreadwing. Dive into the world of magic and explore the most stories full of wonder, fantastical delights. The lights!
Master of Disguise. Your vision comes into view as you awaken from your slumber. Seeing nothing but dirt, you sit up, stretching your arms above your head. The dirt filters off your bones and out of your skull and ribs. The falling dirt bounces off your bones, which is both soothing and relaxing. Thankfully they brought your bag out here, so you put on your sunglasses and go back to sleepily enjoying your peaceful morning. After about 10 minutes of just sitting in the ground, you finally decide to get up. Stretching while enjoying the feeling of the sun on your bones, you shake the remaining dirt off. As you reach down to put your bag on, you notice that your clothes are awkwardly stuck in the ground, with parts of your clothes sticking out at odd angles. You must have taken your clothes off while you were asleep. Sighing heavily, you take your clothes out of the ground, dust them off as best you could, before putting them back on. Hoisting your bag on your shoulder, you make your way to the house. You try the back door, but it's locked. Knock knock, you knock on the door. "Hey Ember, open up. It's me." "Who's there?" You can't sign back, so you stand there awkwardly, wondering how you're supposed to continue the joke. "Candace?" you ask, hopeful. Some muffled talking goes on the other side of the door. "Candace who? Candace door open, or what?" You hear a groan on the other side of the door and some snickering, before Dust opens the door with a very grumpy Ember. Next time don't make me translate your terrible jokes, Ember exclaims in annoyance. "Sorry Ember, won't happen again." Dust moves aside so you can enter the house. "Good," he says with a nod of his head as Dust tries to hide the remainder of his chuckles. "Where are the others?" He thrust his thumb in the direction of the living room where you can hear yelling. Jupiter seems to yell all the time, but Mars is louder than usual. As your group enters the living room, you find Mars and Jupiter arguing. Then let them deal with it. It's about time that Mirror faced the consequences of his action, Mars said with malice in his voice. But sans we aren't quite as strong as. You run up to Jupiter and hug him from behind, making your presence known but also cutting Jupiter off. "And you're here early?" "Yeah, I think my sleep schedule has switched to the night shift, so I'll be hanging out with you geese during the day." "That's wonderful news." He takes in your appearance before gasping, "Why in your clothes are filthy." You look down at your clothes and they're dirty, maybe not filthy but definitely dirty. Your clothes are wrinkled and stained brown from the dirt. Your shirt is almost completely light brown now. You have a fine layer of dirt all over you, not that you really mind, but you also wouldn't mind a bath either. "Well, I do sleep in the ground and only have one outfit, which technically isn't even mine." You state, looking back up at Jupiter, who appears to be scratching his chin in thought. Jupiter sigh in defeat. "Fine. I suppose we should go into town. YN is in desperate need of some new clothes and we could use a few things around the house." "I'm not in desperate need." "Yes, you are." You glare at Ember, which you can't really do, but you hope your aura gets the point across. "Finally," Dust says with a huff. Being a little confused as to why Jupiter seemed to be using you as an excuse to go shopping, you decide to ask. "Is that what you two were arguing about? Going shopping?" you ask, looking between Mars and Jupiter. Mars tenses slightly as he releases a tight "yeah" through clenched teeth. "Is something wrong with shopping? You're not really a fan of shopping either, but it seems like there's more to it than just shopping." "We can't leave Forest." Dust says bluntly, eyes lidded with an expression that says, "I've been done with this conversation." Mars sends a glare his way while you're still confused. Dust, while I appreciate your bluntness on occasion, sometimes it can just be irritating. Dust shrugs his shoulders as he leans against the wall. "So why can't you leave the forest?" you ask, hoping this wasn't a sensitive topic, even if you feel like it might be. There was a beat of silence before Jupiter nervously spoke up. "Why, you see, YN, there are others living in the forest as well, and they..." He looks like he's trying to find the right word. "Don't give a shit about us," Mars cuts in, just as blunt as Dust it seems. Jupiter looks like he wanted to deny that claim but couldn't. Sighing heavily, he speaks again. "Yes, you see, we look similar to the others minus some differences. It would be difficult to explain to other people, so we have to remain hidden within the forest." Dust scoffs at that. So they're clones. Not uncommon, but definitely not the smartest idea to clone yourself so close to humans, and without a barrier no less. You nod your head to confirm that you understand everything so far and notice that Dust seems to be staring at you with sneaking suspicion, while Ember hovers beside him. "Is there a way for you to go into town without feeling uncomfortable?" you ask, already getting an idea. "Not unless you know how to hide a 6 feet 9 inches skeleton," Dust says with a dry chuckle as Jupiter hunches in on himself a bit. "What about a disguise?" "Disguise?" Mars questions, raising a brow bone. "Oh, you mean like a wig and mustache?" Jupiter asks, looking very excited. "Kinda, I mean something like..." You reach into your bag and dig around until you find what you're looking for. You raise your hand with a watch-like device in it as you imagine treasure-finding music playing in the background. What's that?" Mars asks. "This," you say as you pose again, showing off the watch, "is a shape-shifting device." You officially got everyone's attention, as everyone including Dust moved closer to see the watch-like device. It is a mixture of a classic face clock and a digital one. It has a brown strap while the watch itself is silver. Throughout the watch there are bits of orange in the hands of the clock, stitching, tick marks, and numbers. You gently grab Jupiter's hand and put the watch on his wrist, noticing how Mars tenses up slightly at the motion. Once the watch is on securely, you give directions on how to use the watch. "Papyrus, try thinking of what you want to look like and then set the timer to 5 minutes. You briefly explain while showing him how to set the timer. He takes some time to collect his thoughts. Closing his eyes as he takes a few deep breaths and imagine what he wants to look like. Without opening his eyes, he presses the button to start the timer and the watch actives. The watch flickers a light orange as magic seeps out of the watch and quickly covers Jupiter. Mars looks really tense and sweaty, like he wants to rip the watch off but is afraid that doing so could harm Jupiter in the process. In hopes of providing some comfort, you hold his hand and give it a gentle squeeze as Jupiter's transformation comes to an end. Jupiter surprisingly looks the same. Except for a few changes, his teeth are fixed, eye sockets aren't sunken, bones a bit brighter, and he's a couple of inches shorter. It's like someone erased a huge chunk of his past that made him who he is. I don't like it. Ember looked at you curiously while Mars' grip on your hand tightened. You looked at him and noticed that his eye light was out. Taking a glance at Dust, you notice that he looks disconnected. He doesn't seem happy with Jupiter's decision, but it's hard to tell. His eye lights are dull and vacant while his smile looks like someone just put it there. It isn't tight, strained, relaxed, or genuine, it's just the... While you were watching the seances, Jupiter ran into the hallway to look at himself in the mirror. You wanted to follow him to see his reaction, but Mars' grip on your hand was too tight and he wasn't budging an inch. It was like he was glued to the floor as he just started where Jupiter was with vacant sockets. Giving up on going after Jupiter, you notice that Mars is trembling as sweat begins to accumulate on his skull. Everything seems quiet except the distant sound of Jupiter mumbling to himself and Mars grinding his teeth. Looking towards Ember and Dust, Ember looks worried while Dust continues to look vacant, lifeless. Jupiter's new form does not appear to be making the others happy. Ember, what's wrong and why do they look like they are on the verge of a panic attack? Ember? That apostrophe s. How we used t to l look. Before things changed. Before things changed? So that's how Ember and Jupiter used to look before something bad happened, but would that cause such a negative reaction in the senses? Focusing on your soul, you try and release a bit of magic to help calm and soothe everyone. Today was apparently supposed to be a shopping day, not panic attack mental breakdown day. You grab Dust's hand as well and give it a gentle squeeze, but he doesn't respond at all, just stands there. Why? What? You ask, being shocked out of your thoughts by his sudden question. Why do you dislike this version of him? Oh, it's not that I dislike it, if this is just a younger version of himself. But before it felt like he just erased a portion of his past, a part of what makes him, you know. I don't know what you two or you four have been through, but it's what made you guys who you are today. I like who you are, and I don't want that to change, you explain to Ember. Ember floats over to nuzzle your cheekbone, not that you feel anything, but it's the thought that counts. Thank you. He says in a quitter voice. Dust lightly squeezes your hand back and you look up to see that he's looking at you and Ember. His eyes are still distant and lifeless, but his eyelights seem a bit more focus, like he's slowly coming back. Taking a glance at Mars, you can tell that he's stopped trembling, his eyelight is back, and his grip on your hand has loosened just a touch. Jupiter comes back, and you hope it won't send the others back into a panic attack, as their grip increases slightly. Jupiter stands before you looking horrible. His face is stained with orange tears. His smile is forced as it quivers, brow bones furrowed, and hands balled into a tight fist by his side. He is standing tall, but his frame is shaking heavily. Honestly, he looks like he is nervous, afraid, happy yet sad, confused. Almost like he's having an existential crisis. He needs validation. And he wants it from you. YY/N, how do I look? He asks you nervously, hands still balled up by his side. Mars and Dust haven't looked at Ember since he came back in the room, but their grip on your hand continued to get stronger. It really hurts, and there's no doubt about it. Your hands will be sore after this. Trying to move your hands so you can sign to Jupiter proves to be futile since neither Sans is willing to let go. Jupiter looks worse and worse the longer you take to respond, so you nuzzle against Mars's cheekbones, silently asking him to trust you and letting him know that it's okay. After the initial shock of bodily contact, he starts to relax a bit, and with one final squeeze of your hand he lets it go completely. Ember seems to be trying to calm down Dust, but it doesn't appear to be enough to get him out of his own mind. You know that you need to answer Jupiter's question, but you can't really do that properly with just one hand. Thinking fast, you pull Dust into a hug, positioning him so that his head rests on chest, near your soul. He tenses a bit before slowly relaxing in your hold. You pat his skull in a soothing motion as Ember continues to comfort him verbally. He takes slow and deep breaths, bringing his face closer to your sternum before pulling away. He looks you in eye sockets for a moment, his eyes are sharper and a little brighter. He breaks eye contact and heads for the kitchen, whispering, "And I'll be back," under his breath. "I'll go after him," Ember reassures. He clearly isn't better, but he's back. Finally looking back towards Jupiter, you notice that he is in his original form. The timer must have gone off while you were comforting Dust. He still looks like a nervous wreck, but he seems a bit calmer than he did earlier. That's a relief. Papyrus, you begin already feeling the pain and soreness in your bones. I like you for you, and I don't see much of a difference between this you and the other you. But you cut him off by holding your hand up to signal stop. Papyrus, I've noticed that your bones have been getting brighter with each passing day. I like that you're tall and your glasses look good on you. As for your teeth, you can always get them fixed up in town, and I want you to do it. Not for appearance sake but because I know that has to be uncomfortable for you. Jupiter's tears fall freely once again as he looks like he's about to capture you in a hug. I like you, Paps, and I'll always be your friend regardless of your appearance. You state with a smile if you could. He quickly wraps you in a hug before sitting down on the couch with you in his lap. He continues to cry as tears once again soak into the shoulder of your shirt. You rub comforting circles on his back and allow him time to calm down. Mars joins your little comfort pile as he sits next to you, wrapping an arm around Jupiter's shoulder while the other rests atop your femur, gently stroking your leg in a comforting manner. Dust and Ember come back, Dust with a bottle of ketchup in hand, as they sit down on the couch next to you and Jupiter. It's clear that Dust doesn't know how to comfort Jupiter or help the situation. He settles for placing his hand on your other femur as he continues to drink ketchup. After about 30 minutes have passed, everyone seems to have calmed down. Jupiter apologizes for the scene that he's made and quickly rushes off to clean himself up. You really want to apologize since it was your device that caused all this in the first place, but your hands hurt really bad. Trying to open your bag for some medicine yet failing every time, you finally decide to give up and try again later. Leaning back so your head is resting against the back of the couch while your hands rest on your lap. What's wrong? Mars asks, looking fairly concerned as he looks from your hands to your face. You can't really sign at the moment. Well, you can, but you probably shouldn't, so hopefully Ember can get the message across. Ember, can you please tell them they may have, accidentally, probably, but most definitely hurt my hands early. Now it hurts to move them. You explain, not wanting to make anyone feel bad after just starting to get back to normal. What? Ember's sudden ghostly yell is enough to bring Dust out of his half-asleep daze. Dust? You and Mars have crushed YY/N's hands. Dust takes a moment to look at your hands. He gently tries to lift up your hand only for you to hiss, mentally, and pull it away. Oops. This is no time for oops. Brother. Hey, sorry. Dust says in a weird apathetic yet genuine way. Mars, now realizing the problem gently, more so than Dust, lifts your hand and inspects it himself. Noticing that some of the bones are swollen and discolored. Sorry, he whispers out, seeming genuinely sorry but also confused. I'll get ya some monster candy, he says as he starts to dig into his jacket pocket. As good as that sounds, I still can't eat. She's still T.eat. She can't eat. Dust says simply, causing Mars to curse under his breath. Looks like we'll have to wait for Paps to come back so he can heal you. Mars explains. You nod your head in agreement since it's a better option than fighting with your bag to get your medicine. It wasn't long before Jupiter came back, and even less before he's kneeling before you, healing you. He used a type of healing magic that was green. It was similar to a gaseous glow that surrounded his hands before surrounding your hands as he gently placed his on top of yours. From his magic you could feel him rather than his intent. You felt his energy, his consideration, his passion, his perseverance, his hope, his pain, his hunger, and his insecurities. Lucky, he finished healing you before you could cry. Not that you can. He does, however, give your head a gently pat with a reassuring smile. Thanks for healing, Paps. Are doing okay? You ask, still feeling a little guilty and concerned about what happened. Yes, and now that I know how to use this, we can head into town. He says with renewed excitement as he looks at the watch. You can feel Mars and Dust tense up on either side of you. Honestly, you thought you were just going to have a lazy day after what happened. That's what people do after an emotionally stressful day, right? Eat, relax, and surround themselves with things that make them happy and comfortable. Apparently, Jupiter doesn't agree with that plan, should have known he wasn't one for a lazy day. Perhaps Mars starts nervously, but it's too late. Jupiter has already activated the watch. And there he stands in all his 6 feet 9 inches glory as a mystic skeleton. His clothes also changed, so he's wearing a white hoodie with white and light blue camouflage pants. His red gloves have been replaced with black fingerless gloves and his red boots replaced with white snow boots. He still has his red scarf, but most of it was tucked away in his hoodie with only a part of it visible as it covered his mouth and nose cavity. Jumping up from the couch, you quickly sign, "Papyrus, you look amazing." "Naya, hey, of course. The great Papyrus, always looks amazing," he says with a light blush, despite imitating a mystic skeleton. You notice Ember nodding his head in your peripheral vision. "And better yet, no one will recognize me while I'm like this. So, hurry up and get ready." Turning around to look at Mars and Dust, they look more relaxed compared to earlier, but they aren't moving to get ready. "I meant you need to get ready," Jupiter clarifies, to which you cock your head to the side, pointing at yourself in confusion. Jupiter nods his head in confirmation. No. Mystics do not go into the human realm. Only a select few of mystics are allowed into the human realm. You state, starting to feel a little nervous. Sure, you were initially planning on going to Ebot City, but that was at night, when there was less humans and the darkness the night to help hide and protect you. Jupiter looks dejected as his shoulders sag. His face, true to the nature of a mystic skeleton, is expressionless. But you need new clothes. And you'll be with us, so it's not like you'll be alone. He tries to convince you, but you cross your arms in a X formation as you vigorously shake your head no. Mars puts his hand on your shoulder. You'll be fine, no one is going to be able to tell you apart from a bunch of skeletons, he reassures. And we're going to a monster shopping district anyway, Dust adds. Be fun. Metaphorically sighing heavily. Okay, I'll go shopping with you guys, but we should exchange numbers first, just in case we get separated or something. Dust chuckles behind you but gets up from the couch, while Jupiter excitedly cups his cheekbones with his hands. Gasp. I didn't realize you had a phone. Now we can text each other all the time, he says with stars in his eyes. Sure can. Or we can just talk since we live in the same house. Ember chuckles next to you as add 3 new contacts to your phone. Once everyone has your number, Jupiter ushers you upstairs and towards the bathroom. He left you a change of clothes and left you to get ready in peace. Quickly stripping down, you hear your phone go off in your bag. Checking it, you see 3 image messages from Dust. The first one is of Dust and Mars wearing their new glasses, that you're not sure they need. Dust has his arms around Mars' shoulders as they both smile up towards the camera. The second picture is of Jupiter shyly smiling towards the camera in his new glasses with a light orange blush. The third picture is a group photo of all 3 of them in their glasses. Needless to say, they all look sexy, but it's too bad that Ember is the only one not in the picture. I guess monsters haven't figured out how to capture ghosts in photos yet. You'll have to remember to get a picture with Ember later. For now, you thank Dust for the pictures and set the group photo as your wallpaper, before getting into the shower. You quickly take a shower using your own soap before exiting the shower and getting dressed in the clean clothes that Jupiter has provided for you. Bringing your bag with you, you head downstairs to meet up with everyone. Are you ready to go? You nod your head while walking closer to their little group. Great, then let's go. Jupiter's hand is on Mars' shoulder while Mars' hand is resting on Dust's shoulder. Dust traps an arm around your ribs before pulling you into his side, and then you are weightless. And now, you're standing near a dumpster in what seems like the back of a building. Did we just teleport? You ask in disbelief. Hey, it's a shortcut, Dust says in a smug voice. Jupiter starts to lead the way to the front of the building, followed by Mars and Dust with you lagging behind, still in shocked. Sure, some mystics can teleport, but it's extremely rare and only very specific types can do that. And yes, there is magi tech that can allow the user to teleport, but even that power is heavily limited, typically requires the formation of portals, and is ridiculously yet reasonably expensive. Are you okay? Jumping about an inch off the ground, you turn to see Ember is floating behind you. You can teleport too? You yell in shocked, although you really shouldn't be surprised since he's a ghost. Well, I can appear places, he explains, sounding unsure if it would count as teleportation or not. Hurry up, YN. These items aren't going to buy themselves. Jupiter calls from up ahead, having stopped with Mars and Dust to let you catch up. Coming. You run to catch up to the rest of the gang and round the corner of the shopping plaza. The plaza is made up of different shops lined up in a row. They consist of a grocery store, hardware store, clothing store, shoe store, furniture store, hair store, and what appears to be a monster and Asian fusion restaurant. Jupiter pulls out his list and looks it over. And we might have to come back later. Jupiter says, more so to himself than to you. What's on your list? Well, we need some new clothes for all of the US, some groceries, new furniture would be helpful, as well as some tools and supplies to fix up the house. He says, looking over the list again as he rubs his chin in thought. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Do you have enough money to get all that? At the moment no, but now that we can go into town freely, I'll be able to get a job. Jupiter explains, sounding hopeful. I don't have any human money, but I can always buy mystic clothes online. That way you won't have to waste money on me. You suggest. It wouldn't be a waste, Mars interjects. That's right. I insist that you let us buy you something. No. You say firmly. If you want, when we get back you guys can help me pick out which clothes to buy, but for now, I think you should worry about getting what you need for the house. The four of them share glances before sighing in defeat and agreeing to buy things for the house. Rather than trying to get everything on the list, they decided to get clothes, food, and supplies to start fixing up their house. Heading for the clothing store, you notice Monster walking around with a sprinkle of humans here and there. This might be the perfect opportunity to test your necklace. Focusing on Monster that aren't your skull friends, you watch as the necklace starts to glow and hover from your body briefly. It pulls in the direction of the nearest monster, not including your skeleton friends, and gets slightly brighter the closer they get to you. What's going on? The Mars asks, pointing to your necklace, breaking your concentration. The necklace falls to your chest and the light slowly fades out. I was testing out the necklace for a bit, try to see how it work. Did you learn anything? Mars asked with a sly smirk. Maybe. You say with a teasing tone as you follow Jupiter and Dust into the store. Once inside the store, they all split up to look around the store. Going with Jupiter, you help him pick out some clothes. It was a difficult feat to find clothes that suited his complex style and fit him. Despite the odds, he did manage to find a couple of jeans, some t-shirts, sweaters, button-up shirts, and an infinity scarf that you picked out. Dust and Mars have been popping around the store, possible literally. Whenever you looked for them, they were always in different part of the store. Sure, they could have walked over there, but they seemed to be moving a little too fast for walking. You don't see what Dust and Mars bought, but you do suggest some dark purple fingerless gloves for Dust and a ketchup pillow with a smiley face stitched on it for Mars. Despite not planning on buying anything, you made sure to try on every hat you saw and pose in front of the mirror. You did see some things that caught your interest, mostly hoodies, dresses, sleeveless dress, ponchos, and the only cloak in the store. Every time you put an article of clothing back, Dust appears beside you asking if you wanted it or not. Telling him that he doesn't need to buy it for you only resulted in him asking if you liked it. If you said yes, he took it with him. If you said no, then he'd stare at you to see if you're lying before either keeping it or putting it back. If you tried to convince him to put it back, He just said I'm buying it, leaving no room for argument. After you were finished trying on the hats and the others finished buying their clothes, you leave the store. So where are going next? Grocery store or the hardware store? I suppose we should split up. Dust and I will go to the grocery shopping while you and Mars go to the hardware store. Jupiter suggests while giving half his list to Mars. Do you want me to carry your bags, since we don't have a car? Everyone looks at you like you've grown a second head. There will be no need for that. You are quite fragile, and we wouldn't want you hurting yourself with carrying our heavy bags. Dust can teleport IT back home. I'm not fragile. Delicate maybe, but not fragile. It's the same thing. SHHHU. I didn't mean actually carry it. I have a dimensional box in my phone, so I can just hold it in there. You explained while showing off your phone. Phones only have 10 slots you can put things in. It won't be able to hold everything. Dust states, having already teleported all the bags to the house, during this conversation. Looking at them with confusion, you tilt your head to the side. My phone can hold up to a one-story house plus car, put together or broken down into their individual components. So, if you want me to hold your stuff so Dust doesn't have to keep teleporting, I don't mind. They stare at you mouth agape while you continue to wiggle your phone. A couple more seconds of them standing there with their mouth open, and you decide to lean over and help close their mouths. Starting with Mars, since he was closer, earning you a navy blue blush. Wowie, that has to be super convenient. Jupiter say before you have a chance to close his mouth. Well, my phone is an older model, the newer ones can hold a 2-story house and 2 cars. If you want, I can hook you up with one. It'll be convenient since they designed work with the Mystic system and the human system. Really? Jupiter asks, trembling with excitement. Sure, we can buy it when we get back. Soon as you finish saying that, Jupiter grabs Dust and runs off towards the grocery store. In the hardware store you follow behind Mars, looking at random things while he gets everything on the list. You walk together in comfortable silence before Mars speaks. Is it really okay? What do you mean? The glasses, the watch, and now the phones. Is it really okay to just give it to us? He asks, looking mildly concerned but also a bit skeptical. Of course. None of it is that expensive, and it's pretty easy to restock on those glasses and other items anyway. Restock? Oh, didn't I tell you? I'm a traveling merchant. A traveling merchant? Yup, I go around finding random things and trade or sell stuff to people, typically mystics. Actually, you hadn't started out as a merchant, you just like exploring the world, and if you found something cool you brought it with you. Eventually you started meeting people who needed certain items, so you just gave it to them, and after a while people started to pay you or insist on trading with you. Next thing you know, you get a call from your friend that you're on the merchant map as a traveling merchant. You should totally become a merchant. It would fit you so perfectly. You shake his shoulder lightly to help get your point across. He seems to think about it a bit. I don't know. Come on, you can set up shop in the forest and all you have to do is sell and trade stuff to mystics, heck maybe even to some monsters. I know some mystic will definitely be interested in buying some monster or human stuff. I can even help you set it up if you want. You're getting really excited by the idea of him being a merchant, he just fits it so well. Clasping your hand together in a pleading motion, silently saying please. He tries to look anywhere but you as a soft blush crosses his cheekbones. Finally, he closes his eye and releases a sigh before agreeing to try being a merchant. You want to get started as soon as possible, but he tells you to wait until they finish some of the work that needs to be done on the house. You drop the conversation to pout instead until you get tired of holding your pout. You meet up with Dust, Ember and Jupiter and put all the groceries and bags from the hardware store into your phone. Afterwards they decide to eat lunch at the Monster Asian Fusion restaurant. On the way there you asked Jupiter why he went grocery shopping with Dust instead of Mars. He explained that despite Dust being lazy and generally uninterested in most things, he might have a hidden passion for cooking and design. Dust often gives him advice and suggestion when it comes to cooking or picking out furniture. You turn to Dust, who was walking behind you, to see if that was true, but he just shrugs. Ember, however, informs you that no, it isn't. While Dust did used to bake in the past, he hasn't done it in a while. He actually just relays information that Ember tells him to Jupiter. It's his way of keeping Ember involved and to help him feel included. You think it's really sweet that Dust would do that despite creating a misunderstanding between him and Jupiter. Dust scoffs from behind you. I only do it so you'll shut up, he says under his breath. He's looking off to the side with a faint purple blush on his cheekbones. Or he's shy, cute. At the restaurant everyone's eating except for you and Ember. Jupiter has their house special soup, which is some kind of noodle dish that is apparently infused with green healing magic. Mars has chicken teriyaki with pork fried rice that he slathered in ketchup, and Dust had spare rib tips with a side of fries covered in ketchup. You're not even sure where they got the ketchup from. But there it is, on their plates. I know this is random, but how did you guys get groceries before? And where did you get your money from? It's been bothering you for a while actually. Jupiter doesn't have a job, and Mars most likely doesn't, since he didn't mention it when you asked him to be a merchant. It's possible that Dust could have a job, but they also aren't supposed to leave the forest. There are just so many questions. Caretakers would bring US groceries once a month. Caretakers? Yes, they're one of the others that live in the forest. Oh. Is all you can say. They only give the bare minimum of what we need. What does that mean? They give us food, but not the cake kind we like. If it's not essential to keep us alive, then they don't buy it for us. Ember says with an agitated huff. That explains why their house is in need of repairs and why it lacks decor and technology. Their caretakers just buy them random food and that's it. They don't even have the decency to buy them things they actually like. That sucks. Ember nods his head in agreement while the other look confused, probably unsure of what you're referring to, but you think it still fits with the context of the conversation. But now you don't need those caretakers anymore, since you can just come to town freely now. You state, hoping to change the mood. There was enough sadness earlier today, we don't need more of it. That is true. He puts a hand on top of your, giving you a warm smile. And it's all thanks to you. Metaphorically blushing, you try to deny the claims, but he shakes his head and reassures you that you were a great help. Mars chimes in, explaining how Dust and he would sneak into town and try to buy things from the money they had saved while they were underground. They converted some of their gold, monster currency, into human currency without the others' knowledge. This way they could buy things when their caretakers didn't give them enough supplies for the month. Since they didn't have a job, they had to be careful with how much money they spent. Underneath the table, Dust brings his foot to rest on the inside of your right foot. You feel your phone buzz as Mars holds your right hand from under the table. Checking your phone with your left hand, you see that you have a message from Mars. Mars, thanks for today, you really helped us out. Mars, and thanks for the new gig. You, hey, no problem. Me so happy to help. After all, skeletons have to stick together. Mars snorts beside, making him spite up ketchup while he was a laughing fit, while Jupiter stares on in disgust and Dust and Ember in confusion. Sans. Please don't laugh while you're eating, it is disgusting. Jupiter's outburst and the confused looks is enough to make you break down into a laughing mess alongside Mars. Your bones rattle against one another. You give your phone to the confused Dust so he can see what's so funny. He chuckles a little before handing your phone back. You don't say, Dust says with a teasing smirk. You, Mars and Dust share a look, and in that moment everyone knew a pun war was about to begin.
I'm glad you enjoyed that video/gameplay. Just remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. Until next time, goodbye!